Erno still had trouble grasping exactly the metaphor Tyler intended when he used the term man. It had nothing to do with genetics, but before he could quiz Tyler, the older man stopped. By this time, they had circled a quarter of the colony and were in the shadow of the crater wall. Tyler switched on his helmet light, and Erno did likewise. Erno's thermoregulator pumped heat along the microfibers buried in his suit's skin, compensating for the sudden shift from the brutal heat of lunar sunlight to the brutal cold of lunar darkness. "Here we are," Tyler said, looking up the crater wall. "See that path?" It wasn't much of a path, just a jumble of rocks leading up the side of the crater, but once they reached it, Erno could see that, by following patches of luminescent paint on boulders, you could climb the rim mountain to the top. "Where are we going?" Erno asked. "To the top of the world," Tyler said. "From up there I'll show you the empire I'll give you if you follow me." "You're kidding." Tyler said nothing. It was a hard climb to the crater's lip, where a concrete rim formed the foundation of the dome. From there, the dome looked like an unnaturally swollen stretch of mare, absurdly regular, covered in lunar regolith. Once the dome had been constructed over the crater, about 6 meters of lunar soil had been spread evenly over its surface to provide a radiation shield for the interior. Concentric rings every 10 meters kept the soil from sliding down the pitch of the dome. It was easier climbing here, but surreal. The horizon of the dome moved ahead of them as they progressed, and it was hard to judge distances. "There's a solar storm warning," Erno said. "Aren't you worried?" "We're not going to be out long." "I was at the meeting," Erno said. "I saw you," Tyler said. "Cute girl, the dark-skinned one. Watch out." "You know what they used to say on Earth?" "What?" "If women didn't have control of all the pussy, they'd have bounties on their heads." Erno laughed. "How can you say that? They're our sisters, our mothers. And they still have control of all the pussy." They climbed the outside of the dome. "What are you going to do to keep from being made invisible?" Erno asked. "What makes you think they're going to try?" "I don't think your speech changed anybody's mind." "So? No matter what they teach you, my visibility is not socially constructed. That's the lesson for today." "What are we doing out here?" "We are going to demonstrate this fact." Ahead of them, a structure hove into sight. At the apex of the dome, just above the central spire, stood a maintenance airlock. Normally, this would be the way workers would exit to inspect or repair the dome's exterior, not the way Erno and Tyler had come. This was not a public airlock, and the entrance code would be encrypted. Tyler led them up to the door. From his belt pouch, he took a key card and stuck it into the reader. Erno could hear him humming a song over his earphones. After a moment, the door slid open. "In we go, Erno," Tyler said. They entered the airlock and waited for the air to recycle. "This could get us in trouble," Erno said. "Yes, it could. If you can break into the airlock, you can sabotage it. An airlock breach could kill hundreds of people." "You're absolutely right, Erno. That's why only completely responsible people like us should break into airlocks." The interior door opened into a small chamber facing an elevator. Tyler put down his backpack, cracked the seal on his helmet, and began stripping off his garish suit. Underneath, he wore only briefs. Rust-colored pubic hair curled from around the edges of the briefs. Tyler's skin was pale, the muscles in his arms and chest well developed, but his belly soft. His skin was crisscrossed with a web of pink lines where the thermoregulator system of the suit had marked him. Feeling self-conscious, Erno took off his own suit. They were the same height, but Tyler outweighed him by 20 kilos. "What's in the backpack?" Erno asked. "Rappelling equipment." Tyler gathered up his suit and the pack, and ignoring the elevator, opened the door beside it to a stairwell. "Leave your suit here," he said, ditching his own in a corner. The stairwell was steep, and the cold air tasted stale. It raised goosebumps on Erno's skin. Clutching the pack to his chest, Tyler hopped down the stairs to the next level. The wall beside them was sprayed with gray insulation. The light from bioluminescence turned their skin greenish yellow. Instead of continuing down the well all the way to the top of the spire, Tyler stopped at a door on the side of the stairwell. He punched in a code. The door opened into a vast darkness, the space between the exterior and interior shells of the dome. Tyler shone his light inside. 3 meters high, broken by reinforcing struts, the cavity stretched out from them into the darkness, curving slightly as it fell away. Tyler closed the door behind them and, in the light of his flash, pulled a notebook from the pack and called up a map. He studied it for a minute, then led Erno into the darkness. To the right about 10 meters, an impenetrable wall was one of the great cement ribs of the dome that stretched like the frame of an umbrella from the central spire to the distant crater rim. Before long, Tyler stopped, shining his light on the floor. "Here it is," he said. "What?" "Maintenance port. Periodically, they have to inspect the interior of the dome, repair the fiber optics." Tyler squatted down and began to open the lock. "What are you going to do?" "We're going to hang from the roof like little spiders, Erno, and leave a gift for our cousins." The port opened, and Erno got a glimpse of the space that yawned below. 1,000 meters below them, the semicircular ranks of seats of the Sobieski Park amphitheater glowed ghostly white in the lights of the artificial night. Tyler drew ropes and carabiners from his pack, and from the bottom an oblong device, perhaps 50 centimeters square, wrapped in fiber optic cloth that glinted in the light of the flashlight. At one end was a timer. The object gave off an aura of threat that was both frightening and instantly attractive. "What is that thing? Is it a bomb?" "A bomb, Erno? Are you crazy?" Tyler snapped one of the lines around a reinforcing strut. He donned a harness and handed an identical one to Erno. "Put this on." "I'm afraid of heights." "Don't be silly. This is safe as a kiss. Safer, maybe." "What are we trying to accomplish?" "That's something of a metaphysical question." "That thing doesn't look metaphysical to me." "Nonetheless, it is. Call it the Philosopher's Stone. We're going to attach it to the inside of the dome." "I'm not going to blow any hole in the dome." "Erno, I couldn't blow a hole in the dome without killing myself. I guarantee you that, as a result of what we do here, I will suffer whatever consequences anyone else suffers. More than anyone else, even. Do I look suicidal to you, Erno?" "To tell the truth, I don't know. You sure do some risky things. Why don't you tell me what you intend?" "This is a test. I want to see whether you trust me." "You don't trust me enough to tell me anything." "Trust isn't about being persuaded. Trust is when you do something because your brother asks you to. I didn't have to ask you along on this adventure, Erno. I trusted you." Tyler crouched there, calmly watching Erno. "So, do you have the balls for this?" The moment stretched. Erno pulled on the climbing harness. Tyler ran the ropes through the harness, gave him a pair of gloves, and showed Erno how to break the rope behind his back. Then, with the maybe Baum philosopher's stone slung over his shoulder, Tyler dropped through the port. Feeling like he was about to take a step he could never take back, Erno edged out after him. Tyler helped him let out 3 or 4 meters of rope. Erno's weight made the rope twist, and the world began to spin dizzily. They were so close to the dome's inner surface that the stars shining there were fuzzy patches of light in the braided fiberglass surface. The farmlands of the crater floor were swathed in shadow, but around the crater's rim, oddly twisted from this God's eye perspective, the lights of apartment districts cast fans of illumination on the hanging gardens and switched-back perimeter road. Erno could make out a few microscopic figures down there. Not far from Tyler and him, the top of the central spire obscured their view to the west. The flying stage, 30 meters down from where the spire met the roof, was closed for the night, but an owl, nesting underneath, flew out at their appearance and circled below them. Tyler began to swing himself back and forth at the end of his line, gradually picking up amplitude until, at the apex of one of his swings, he latched himself onto the dome's inner surface. "Come on, Erno, time's wasting." Erno steeled himself to copy Tyler's performance. It took effort to get himself swinging, and once he did, the arcs were ponderous and slow. He had trouble orienting himself so that one end of his oscillation left him close to Tyler. At the top of every swing, gravity disappeared and his stomach lurched. Finally, after what seemed an eternity of trying, Erno swung close enough for Tyler to reach out and snag his leg. He pulled Erno up beside him and attached Erno's belt line to a ring bolt in the dome's surface. Erno's heart beat fast. "Now you know you're alive," Tyler said. "If anyone catches us up here, our asses are fried." "Our asses are everywhere and always fried. That's the human condition. Let's work." While Tyler pulled the device out of the bag, he had Erno spread glue onto the dome's surface. When the glue was set, the two of them pressed the philosopher's stone into it until it was firmly fixed. Because of its reflective surface, it would be invisible from the crater below. "Now, what time did Deborah's daughter say that the meeting was tomorrow?" 1600, Erno said. "You knew that." Tyler flipped open the lid over the stone's timer and punched some keys. "Yes, I did." "And you didn't need my help to do this. Why did you make me come?" The timer beeped. The digital readout began counting down. Tyler flipped the lid closed. "To give you the opportunity to betray me. And if you want to, you still have," he looked at his wristward, 14 hours and 13 minutes. Male dominance behavior. Erno had begun building his store of resentment when he was 12. In Eva's daughter's molecular biotechnology class, Eva's daughter came from an illustrious family. Her mother had been the longest-serving member of the colony council. Her grandmother, Eva Kabat-Sumi, jailed with Norma Sobietsky in California, had originated the matronymic system. It took Erno a while to figure out that didn't make Eva's daughter a good teacher. He was the brightest boy in the class. He believed in the cousins, respected authority, and worshipped women like his mother and Eva's daughter. Eva's daughter was a tall woman who wore tight, short-sleeved tunics that emphasized her small breasts. Erno had begun to notice such things. Sex play was everyone's interest that semester, and he had recently had several erotic fondling sessions with girls in the class. One day they were studying protein engineering. Erno loved it. He loved how you could make a gene jump through hoops if you were clever enough. He got ahead in the reading. That day he asked Eva's daughter about directed protein mutagenesis, a topic they were not due to study until next semester. Can you make macro modifications in proteins? Replace entire sequences to get new enzymes? He was genuinely curious. But at some level, he was also seeking Eva's daughter's approval of his doing extra work. She turned on him coolly. Are you talking about using site-directed mutagenesis or chemical synthesis of oligonucleotides? He had never heard of site-directed mutagenesis. I mean using oligonucleotides to change the genes. I can't answer unless I know if we're talking about site-directed or synthesized oligonucleotides. Which is it? Erno felt his face color. The other students were watching him. I don't know. Yes, you don't, Eva's daughter said cheerfully, and instead of explaining, she turned back to the lesson. Erno didn't remember another thing from the rest of the class except looking at his shoes. Why had she treated him like that? She made him feel stupid. Yes, she knew more about biotech than he did, but she was the teacher. Of course she knew more. Did that mean she had to put him down? When he complained to his mother, she only said that he needed to listen to the teacher. Only slowly did he realize that Eva's daughter had exhibited what he had always been taught was male dominance behavior. He had presented a challenge to her superiority, and she had smashed him flat. After he was smashed, she could afford to treat him kindly. But she would teach him only after he admitted that he was her inferior. Now that his eyes were opened, he saw this behavior everywhere. Every day, cousins asserted their superiority in order to hurt others. He had been lied to, and his elders were hypocrites. Yet, when he tried to show his superiority, he was told to behave himself. Superior, inferior is wrong, they said. Difference is all.